Good afternoon, everyone. Today we have with us one of the proud swim parents from Glenmark Aquatic Foundation, Bangalore, Race Center, Ms. Roopa Vishwanath. And I would also like to talk about Malvika for at least a minute. And she is one of the rarest swimmer which we had in Karnataka. And I was training her since 2007 to 2014. And I would say that she is one of the few swimmers who actually gone across Group 4, Group 3, Group 2, Group 1 senior level swimming. And she's been into competitive swimming since last 13 years. And she's broken multiple records in all the age groups. And she also represented India in the World Championship at Windsor in 2016. And coaching her was very easy. She made it look very easy. And she never complained one single session about anything else. Yeah. Rupa, you want to start off from here?
Yeah, thank you, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining this session. First of all, I would really like to express my appreciation to Glenmark Aquatic Foundation for giving me this wonderful opportunity to address all of you, and it's really a humbling experience for me. What I'm going to talk about today is actually being a swim parent. How is that different from being a parent? It is the same and it is quite different, because suddenly we find ourselves in this arena where, you know, everything becomes competitive, and we find ourselves changing also as a result of this. So these are some of the points that I want to address during this meeting. I hope this doesn't come across as me giving a lot of unsolicited advice or gyan to all of you, because please be assured that all the points that I'm going to talk about is what I have learned myself during the years and years of 15 years of being a swim mom. I have made many of the mistakes that I'm going to be talking about. So it's not me telling you how great I am as a swim parent. It's me telling you what I've learned and how to be a better swim parent. Amazing. So I have just structured my presentation into 10 important points, which I feel every swim parent is confronted with when during the course of their parenting. So I'm just going to go through each one of them. And you're most welcome to ask me questions. I would be very, very happy to answer them if I can. And I have left a good 30 minutes at the end of the session for me to take Q&A. So you can type your questions in the chat. So the first thing that I have put here is, I have just called it KYC, but what it means is actually know your child. You know, a child is a part of us, but how much do we actually know about the wishes and the dreams of our children? So this is something that a swim parent has to be very vigilant about, is to getting to know the strengths of your children. That means, what is the level of commitment that the child has towards the sport? What is the level of commitment and passion that he has or he or she has towards swimming? Also, we have to be very realistic about the talent that the child has. Some of them are exceptionally talented. Some of them have a really good talent, and we have to be able to recognize that. And another thing that we have to know about is how good is your child in academics? How well is the child able to manage and balance school as well as the training? So we have to have a realistic view of these strengths, not what we wish the child had, but what the child actually has. And I'm not saying that we cannot develop these strengths if we find them lacking. Definitely we can, but the thing is to be able to recognize it upfront. A very important point that I want to share is about knowing about the insecurities and the fears of our children. What I have realized is that the biggest fear a child has is the fear of letting a parent down, or the fear of disappointing a parent. So this is one of the things that we have to be extremely careful about and aware of, Because if we show that the child has disappointed us in some way, that is realizing the child's worst fears, and we don't want to do that. That's a precious part of our lives. We don't want to have our child's worst fears being realized. So make sure that you never ever get disappointed by your child or by anything that the child does. Our job as parents is to reinforce those the security of our children and not reinforce the fears and insecurities. Another important point that I want to make is that the dreams of the child versus the dreams of the parent. Sometimes unknowingly, we are trying to realize or fulfill our unfulfilled dreams through our children. And by doing this, we are actually crushing the dreams of our own children. So I have the cartoon here that's supposed to be the dad dreaming of a gold medal, whereas the child is dreaming of being an astronaut. So we have to make sure that we understand whether our dreams and the child's dreams are aligned. If not, the parent's job is to align their dreams to the dreams of the child and not force the child into fulfilling our dreams. And of course, we have to be aware of the child's needs. What does the child really want in terms of emotional support, as well as in terms of, mundane things like food and nutrition, and, what does he want to do in his free time, and not force our idea of what the child should do on the child. Rather, look at the needs of the children and then try to fulfill those needs. Remember that every child is unique, and as long as you have a healthy communication channel open with the children, you will be able to know your child as well as you possibly can. So that's my first point, and probably the most important message that I want to send through this presentation. Here is another very important point, and that is trust. So here there are two types of trust, two people we need to trust, and I will be talking a little bit about both. One is to trust your own child, and let's just go into that for a minute. So many times we hear parents, and I myself have said, my child has no sense of responsibility. My child doesn't know right from wrong. So how is it that you make sure that your child has that sense of responsibility and your child never acts in a way in which you will be upset with the child or disappointed with the child? The trick to this is something that I have learned from my own parents and I've tried to do with my own children. And that is to show the child that you trust her or him 100%. That means you think that the child is capable of making the right decisions. You show the child the difference between right and wrong. And that you have to do not by talking or giving any bhashans to the child, but by living that, So when the parent remains very trustworthy, then the child also imbibes this from the parent, and then you can be sure that the child will never really do anything wrong. It has the capability of deciding what is right and what is wrong. So once you do that, you can really there's a load off you, the child knows that you trust the child, and the child will never do anything wrong, and you trust his abilities or his decisions or his choices. Next is, how do you trust the coach? This is a super important point because I've heard it from many people, this statement, saying that I think the coach is paying more attention to the other swimmer, or I think the coach is not very interested in my child. So this is a very dangerous thought that comes into the head of the swim parent. And if this thought or this feeling is transferred to the child, I think you can forget about your child training with that coach anymore. Because when the child realizes the parent doesn't 100% trust the coach, then the child is also not going to trust the coach, and that's going to be a recipe for disaster. So show that you trust the coach. So show that you have faith in the judgment of the coach. And if you don't, suppose there is a case, which I'm not saying is going to happen, but suppose there is a case when you feel that you just cannot bring yourself to trust this coach, the only solution I have is to change to another pool or to another coach, because this is not going to work if you are always suspicious of the coach. Because I will tell you that the coach's life and passion and whole livelihood is your swimmer, is your child, and the coach is completely invested, or should be completely invested, in each and every one of the swimmers in his batch. And it is his livelihood, it is his passion. How many of you have seen your coaches running, the length of the pool, cheering your child, during the practice? I'm not talking about race. This shows the level of commitment of the coaches, and I wish and pray that every parent just leaves it to the coach. Have trust in your coach, and don't ever think that you know better than the coach or you can coach your child better. It will only confuse matters. So instill a feeling of trust in your coach as well. And this has to be mutual. Coach trusts the parent, parent trusts the coach, and that's a sure recipe for success. Now, here's another thing. It's so difficult for us to be patient, to reap the fruits of our labors, because we are investing years and years of time and money and everything in this sport, and our whole life is revolving around this schedule of our child. And swimming is not a sport where you can get results miraculously overnight. It's not going to happen. So the only thing that you need to do is to have immense amount of patience. This may take months, this may take years, it may take even 10 years before your child really makes it big. What are you going to do during those 10 years? Are you going to be impatiently tapping your foot and going on saying, you've been training for so many years, still no national medal? Look how dejected and disillusioned the child becomes when you do that. So be patient. Look at the sport as something which, you're not doing it for that gold at the end of the rainbow. You're doing it for so many more things, so much more that you're going to benefit from this sport. So don't always be avaricious looking for the results. Look at improvements that your child has had. Look at the fitness in his body or her body that is a result of this training. Look at the wonderful opportunities that the swimming sport presents to you. And enjoy every single training session and every single competition without always yearning or lusting after that medal, that gold. That will come if you have patience. And if you're impatient at the early stages of a child's swimming career, I will assure you that that's going to be the end of the career of the child. If every day the mom and dad are irritated, and every competition, not every day, at the end of the day, they say, "Ayo, you've not won a single medal," then very soon the child will lose interest and you lose confidence in his abilities and just give up the sport. So that's another important point. Now, another thing that we as swim parents tend to do is compare our child with other children. This is very normal. It's human nature for us to compare ourselves with someone better. It can be productive and it can be extremely counterproductive as well. So what happens when a parent starts comparing their child with somebody who's better? So I would say this is one of the most counterproductive exercises. It does not bring in any benefits, neither to you nor to your child. It leads to extreme levels of discontent in your head and demotivation in the head of the child. The child starts feeling he's not good enough. Mom is not happy with how I am. She feels somebody else is better than me. I should be like somebody else. So it's not at all a healthy thing when you start comparing. as I said, it leads to dejection and discontent on the part of the child as well as in your own head. It destroys the self-confidence. Another thing that it really does is to destroy relationships between the child and the person with whom you're comparing, or the parent of the child with whom you're comparing. You're always, envious. You're always looking at them to see, oh, what does this person feed his child that the child does so much better? Where does this person go to the gym? Even I want to go to the gym, go to the same gym so that my child does equally well. So all this is absolutely unnecessary stuff. You know best what is good for your child. Your coach, you and the child have to decide. It doesn't come up, it's not the responsibility of a third person to help you make your decisions regarding your child's requirements for the sport. So comparisons are very, very dangerous when done by the parent. But when the swimmer tries to compare himself or herself with somebody better than him or her, maybe that's a productive comparison. That can lead to higher motivation levels in your child. The child is trying to beat somebody faster than him or her. That's amazing. So that can lead to increased performances. It can be challenging and motivating. And let me tell you, the children are way better at preserving their friendships than parents are. So a child may be best friends with her or his fiercest competitor. I have seen this in my daughter. And it's amazing, and my son as well. They have no feeling of jealousy or envy. They just want to be better themselves as a swimmer. So that's really good when the child does it, but not for the parent. That's not our job. So the next slide is communication with the coach. I think all of us know that it's a pyramid, it's a triangle, where the child, parent, and coach are all part of a triangle which can lead to great success of the child as an athlete. I would actually say that in this triangle, the child and coach's role is more important than that of the parent. So what we can do to contribute towards the success of our child is to actually have a good communication with the coach, a good rapport with the coach. For that, I think what I covered briefly previously is that we need to have mutual respect. You need to respect the abilities of the coach. Have faith that he's going to make your child improve. And the coach, in turn, has to have respect for the parent, knowing that the parent is on his side. He is not his enemy. So the parent is never going to continuously come and confront him if the child doesn't win a medal. Coach knows that parent has faith in me. Parent knows that coach is capable, and then you have mutual respect. Many of the times, the goals of the parents play a more important role than the goals of the swimmer and the coach, which I feel is wrong. So your goals actually should be aligned with that of your coach and child. So when it comes to decisions on which events to take, which meets to swim, leave it to the coach and the child. Now that you know you trust your coach, you trust your child, I think you can relax and say they know best. And most of the time they do know best because they are involved in this day in and day out, and they are experts in this field. So let them set the goals, and you can actually enjoy those goals when they come true. I'm not saying that you should not help your child set lofty goals. You can encourage him or her to, be better than what he is already. But don't make it an unrealistic, unachievable goal, which only leads to disappointment later. So then there is this aspect of improving versus winning. So every child cannot be a winner. Every child cannot have a podium finish. Unfortunately, there are only 3 per event who can reach the podium. But has your child improved? Has your child maybe made it to the finals? From winning at a club meet, or at a school meet, has your child started winning at a club meet? Has your child started winning at the state meet, a relay medal, and then an individual medal? These are improvements that we're looking at. Not, why didn't you win? Why didn't you have a podium finish? So if the child is improved, that's a great moment for you to relish and enjoy. And I would suggest that we all do that rather than pushing. Here, I just want to talk about my own experience because I have two children. One is Malvika and the second is my son, Shivank. So Mal, right from day one, the first meet that she ever swam, it was an inter-school, she started winning medals, much to our surprise, and we hadn't expected anything of that like that from her. But she started, it came rather effortlessly, I would say, or rather uninterruptedly for Mal. And then we have Shivi, my son, who is an amazingly committed and wonderful swimmer, who has the most fierce competition you can ever face in Karnataka. His age group, the boys are excellent, they're fantastic swimmers. And so this child has not been winning gold medals right from his first meet onwards. It's taken time, it has been small steps. It's been what shall I say, small improvements that he himself has seen and we have seen, which bring us as much joy as we have had seeing Malvika standing on that national medal podium. So it's not about winning. It's about your child enjoying it, improving, being motivated, and loving the sport. Another thing that I want to say here is do not undermine the coach. The coach will say something and the parent says something else that only confuses the child, and that leads to a very negative energy being generated, because the coach is also now getting irritated that you're undermining him. So keep your views largely to yourself and try to make sure that you follow what the coach says. Another important thing is open lines of communication. That means whenever I want to approach my coach, whenever I have a question or a problem, it's always healthy to be able to approach that coach. I know that with Bhushan sir, Bhaskar sir, it's been an amazing line of communication. There's absolutely no hesitation in asking or clarifying our doubts. Some coaches may not be as open and communicative as these. So I think that it's important that you make an effort to try and have whatever necessary level of communication that you need. And I don't mean the parents going after every workout session and having a word with the coach and checking how the child is done. That is most irritating and unnecessary. What you need to do is, when there's something important you want to talk about, are you able to contact your coach? Is your coach having a ear to listen to you during these times? So that's a healthy thing to happen. The last point I've highlighted in red because it is so important. It's the weight of expectation, not on you, not on the coach. It's the weight of expectation on your child. Once your child starts winning, you cannot imagine how much of expectation is resting on those little shoulders of your child. So suppose you have a wonderfully talented child who has won a gold medal in the state meet in group 4. Then it starts, everyone, not only you, everyone around, parents of other children, coaches, your friends, everyone starts expecting that year after year after year, your child is going to win that gold medal at the state meet or the national, whatever. So this can be a huge burden for the child to carry, and you cannot actually remove this burden, because once a person starts performing, the expectations are going to be there. But at least your expectations you can control as parents, and go in saying that do your best, have fun, you can do it, encourage the child in that way. Don't say you're going to come back with the gold medal today, you have to break the record. That puts a lot of unnecessary pressure on the already existing pressure on the child. And remember that these are all still small children, age group children. They don't have the capability of bearing such large burdens. So as a parent, it's our job to try and help the child in this way. One of the most effective ways of establishing a good rapport with your coach is by volunteering. Here, I would like to really commend Bhushan sir and GAF Ray, because the recently concluded swim gala, GAF Ray swim gala, I was amazed to see the amount of engagement by all the parents of the GAF Ray children, Bangalore. So right from, regulating the traffic to organizing the food to, conducting the meet, being the clerk of the coach, lining up the children, announcement, everything was done by the parents. What this gives you is really experience in the sport, getting yourself involved, giving your time to do something for the sport, where the child also feels my mom or dad is really interested in me and involving themselves in this. And also it gives you a wonderful opportunity to network with the coach and the coaching community and the swimming community in general. So if ever you get a chance to volunteer, to be a part of any swim event, please do it, because that will give you great sense of satisfaction. I think recently I had a fabulous opportunity. This was at the Asian age group synchronized swimming. So I was asked to be a part of that committee, organizing committee, and then we had these wonderful meetings with, international level officials, where we learned so much. We had no clue about synchronized swimming, but it was a 7-day event, and totally we were involved for 7 days, and it was an amazing event where you really got to see the sport from such close quarters, and such an enriching experience which you will never forget as a parent. So this is one example of a case where you can volunteer where your child is not at all involved in that sport. This was synchronized swimming, but still the parents get a sense of achievement after having done that. I think in the USA, a lot of parents volunteer for every meet, for timekeeping as well as organizing the sports. This also gives them a great opportunity to get involved and learn more about the sport. Yeah, so then now when we as swim parents, we have to deal with other swim parents as well. And this can be a wonderful opportunity for us. Some of my best friends are from the swimming community, are parents of other swimmers. So because you're spending so much time with them, you will end up really enjoying their company and loving that community feeling of, being together day after day, discussing things. And when you come for the evening session or the morning session, it's lovely to hang out with other parents and exchange stories, exchange gossip, maybe go out for a coffee, or even meet once in a while outside the pool. So these are lasting friendships that the sport allows us to have. But the minute you start getting envious of the other parent, it ruins everything. So this is something we need to be very wary about. Suppose you are friends with a parent of another swimmer who's just as good as your kid or better than your kid, then make sure that you don't start getting envious, because every child is different. Her child may be doing good, your child will also do good. Don't be insecure about it. And the minute envy or jealousy starts coming to it, it really spoils relationships, which I feel is a pity, because you get such wonderful chances to be friends with other parents. And let me tell you that these friendships can last forever. Recently, when Malvika was in a crisis situation, she was just landing from the US in the midst of this corona crisis. 2 of her Mumbai swimming friends' parents are the ones who helped us through this situation and provided their support, which we really cherish and appreciate. And these were some of her fiercest competitors at national level, the parents of those swimmers. So when you respect that other swimmer for her ability, and respect the parent for all the effort they are putting in, I think you can have a healthy friendship with swim parents. And also one tip from my husband is at the pool, don't always discuss swimming. There are so many other things that you can discuss. The minute you start, decimating every single stroke and every single thing that your child is doing, it starts getting a little uncomfortable. So that's what I want to say about other parents. Yeah, now an important thing. It's race day. It's your state meet or it's your nationals. And how do you as a parent contribute towards a good experience for your child? So there are untold amounts of stress on the day before and on the day of the nationals or state meet, whatever it is. And many a time, actually, let me tell you a little about myself. I think I'm least suited to being a swim parent because I'm a very stressed out person. Even when I was a student, I used to get extremely nervous and anxious during my exams. So whenever there's any level of tension in me, I just kind of I handle it, but I do it with great difficulty. Whereas my husband, on the day before the meet, he'll sleep like a baby. You know, he's the exact opposite. So I try to learn how to be calm and how to not be stressed from my husband. It's not easy, but make sure that your child is not stressed. You can manage your stress somehow. I don't sleep the day before a nationals, but if your child sleeps well, then that's great. Don't transfer your stress to your child. Maintain a calm exterior at least, even though inside your stomach may be churning and you're nervous as hell. Make sure that you look calm and provide that emotional support that the child needs. And most of the biggest job that we have on race day is actually to leave our children alone. You know, don't hover around them every single minute, you know, thrusting laddus into their mouth, and these laddus will contain 8 different kinds of dry fruits and millets. All that is really, you know, the child doesn't want to get into that. You know, instead of that, just take a box of figs or dates and just offer it to him or her, or just, you know, make a banana available for your child. So the child knows how it is feeling and what it needs right now to be able to perform. So don't be one of those parents who's running behind your children with a box of laddus or some, you know, theplas or something like that. Just let it be. And the most wonderful feeling that you have is after the race, if your child has won, if your child has had success, you know, that feeling is something that is our reward as parents, you know, to enjoy and to cherish and to, you know, live in that moment of success for your child as well as yourself. But what happens if there's discipline? You know that swimming can be a very heartbreaking sport. A microsecond or a millisecond can be the difference between a medal and not getting a medal. So this is something that I know as a parent will be extremely disappointed. Just imagine how disappointed the child will be. You know, she or he has put in his 100%. He doesn't want to hear the parent asking him, why did you lose? Why didn't you get a medal? Because he has put in his 100%. So once you know that your child has tried so hard, help your child manage that disappointment. And how you do that is by just behaving normal. You know, after they come out from the race, you're running with that towel and that banana. Smile at the child and say, well done, or oh, it's okay, next time I'm sure it'll be better. Let's focus on the next day. Helping them manage this kind of disappointment is our job. And the child is very capable of managing these losses because it's an athlete. What it cannot handle is your disappointment. So make sure that we as parents don't appear disappointed. Oh God, I'm running out of time. Yeah, so when you're a parent, don't be one of these gigantic presences in the scope of your child's swimming. Have less domination, less interference, less demands, less drama, less threats. Don't threaten your child saying, if you don't win, I'm not going to buy you this. Don't blackmail the child emotionally. Don't be jealous. Don't compare. What you need is mainly, I have learned this the hard way, guys. It's not my gyan to you. Be supportive. Show that you love your child. Show that you're having fun at these meets. Enjoy it. Be understanding. Trust your child. Have faith and confidence in the abilities of your child as well as the coach. And savor every single moment of your meet, because these are going to be memories that are going to stay with you forever and ever. Every state meet, every nationals of Malvika is a cherished memory in my heart, which I can recall, whenever I need to, or whenever I feel like it's an amazing, it stays with you for life. So, and many times parents feel, I also think, we're investing so much time and money in it for what? You're not giving me anything in return. The sport is not giving me anything in return. I would say it's giving you hundreds of things in return. It is an investment in the health it's an insurance for your child's health. Now, not only now, in the future, your child is going to grow up healthy and strong and an amazing athlete which can combat any disease in future. For the pure joy of sports. Sports is the purest thing I think we can have in life. And this swimming is giving you the opportunity to just revel in that pure joy of the sport. And it gives you opportunities to spend lots of meaningful time with your family. So when you're traveling for meets, travel together, all of you go, have a good time, because otherwise we don't get any breaks. Yeah, the Bhushan sir is not going to allow us to take holidays in between. So your holiday is going to be when you travel for meets. So make that a fun time. And you get to see places which you would never have imagined seeing in your lives because of your child being in this sport. So that's something you have to appreciate. And the ecstasy of seeing your child achieve great things, this is some feeling of immense joy and pride. If you look at Michael Phelps' mom's face in this, you can just see, it is a feeling incomparable to anything else. And even if your child is not a wonderful, elite swimmer, you still have made your child an all-rounder, a child who can achieve in academics and also in sports, and is a good team player, and is knows how to handle his time. There are so many other aspects that swimming gives you, which you are able to give your child. And this sport opens new avenues. I'm not talking about financial avenues. I'm talking about opportunities which would have otherwise been impossible, which we have seen in case of Mal. People from out of the blue are coming and approaching us with things which we would have never thought of ourselves. So, for example, her US college admissions and scholarships, I think that's been a great experience for us. Also, because of lack of time, may not be able to share this part of my experience with you. But in case you have questions about this, then we can answer it in the Q&A. And lastly, just for the fun and joy of it. So you're not sacrificing your time or money. You're spending your time and money on your most precious thing in life, which is your child. So with that, I would like to end my talk, and we can take Q&A.
So you can put the questions up in the chat box.
Yeah.
Hello, Vijay.
Yes, ma'am. Tell me.
This is Smita. I would just like to, ask her a question, because mine is a sort of long question. I don't want to type. Roopa, this is Smita Divgikar.
Hi, Smita. Thank you so much for your kind words in your session.
I just needed to ask few things, about
Sure.
Malvika's, how she was as a student. Did she, along with her studies, did you put her into many tuitions? And if yes, then how she could manage all the things? Because I want parents to know about it.
Yeah.
How it is
That
managed.
is. That
One
is.
minute. Let me finish the question.
Sure.
This is 1A.
Okay.
The other thing was ki now that she's gone abroad and she's doing, I always feel the child has to be good in the studies. I don't know how she was, how she is able to manage with her studies and her swim sessions and do well in her swimming also. Or has she completely, I've seen many children who just don't want to study. They say ki, we want to be good swimmers, so even if we don't study, it's fine. We don't want to go to school. you want to do homeschooling and all that, So what do you feel about it?
Yeah, thank you, Smita. That was a really important question, which I didn't cover in this session. As far as Malvika's academics goes, I think the main advantage that we had was the school and principal were extremely supportive of us right from the beginning. In fact, it was the school coach who identified her talent and pushed her into competitive swimming. So that being the case, her school was ready to support her in any way. So when it comes to her academic performance, I think it was a breeze for her right till class 7. So till class 7, she was always near or at the top of her class. She's kind of a responsible child, She always does her work and didn't need much of interference from the parents. But after you start 8th grade, okay, then the pressure comes on to you. Okay, the studies become more difficult, and in most cases for all the swimmers, their swimming becomes more demanding as well, because that's when you're peaking. You're in this age group of 14, 15, 16, where you're improving by leaps and bounds, and your coach is not allowing you to take a single session off. So as a parent, I think our role is to make sure that you don't set overly ambitious expectations for the child as far as academics goes, but also you're not going to be a pushover. You're not going to accept it if the child is just not putting any effort and always getting very bad grades in school. So I would say that if your child till 7th grade has been getting 90% in school, reduce your expectations to maybe 75, 80% marks as it comes towards the 8th, 9th, and 10th. In Mal's case, we have been really adventurous in terms of many things. I think Bhushan sir knows that when she was in 10th grade, just shortly before her boards, she went to the US for 3 months to train at the Santa Clara Swim Club. And she came back, I think it was end of Jan or Feb, and then it was her boards in March. She never ever had any tuitions in her life till now. She has always told me that, leave me alone. I can manage this on my own. So this is probably a little exceptional compared to the other children. And she's always been getting fantastic grades in school, as well as even in 12th grade. She was swimming at the SAF games, and her school scheduled her board exam practical so that Mal could take part in the SAF games. So she came back with 4 golds and 4 records, and the principal says, now, okay, it is worth my while that I've rescheduled her practical exams. That was a level of support that we got from the school. Attendance, she would very rarely attend school in the 11th and 12th, whenever possible only, but most of the time she was in camps and traveling for swimming. And I think the teachers were understanding. Many of them suggested to us that we engage a tuition teacher, at least for her 11th and 12th. But this girl was confident that she could handle it on her own. And I was very nervous, but we trusted her. We said, okay, she knows better. This is what I'm saying. When you know that the child knows better than you, just back off. He or she can handle it. As far as my son goes, he's not a super duper topper in his class or whatever, but he's also extremely confident in his capabilities, and we put zero pressure on him. As long as, he completes his work on time and there are no complaints from the school, be happy then there. So, and also I would like to say the child is so physically exhausted after 2 sessions of swimming every day. Don't force the child in the car to, open the book and start studying. Or as soon as he comes back from a session at 8:30, you're saying study for 1 hour. Let the child study on a Wednesday or a Sunday when there are no sessions, and that can be a focused and concentrated effort by the child. There's no point in when somebody's physically so exhausted, the mind also will not work. So in this way, we can support our children. Smita, have I answered that question?
Yeah, you have answered it, but even it's the question actually from me. How is she able to manage with her studies as well as her swimming abroad now that she is not studying here?
I think I should call her. Mal, can you come here? Let her answer this question herself. I will call her. Let me see if there are any other questions. Which university is Mal in now? How easy or difficult was it to get in? Yes. Mal is now in Drew University, which is in New Jersey, very close to New York. And what happened with us is, as I told you, when she was in 10th grade, we had been to the US for 3 months of coaching. So what happened at that stage was she was enrolled into the American Swimming Database. So when she started getting into her 12th grade, we had absolutely zero intentions of sending her abroad. We were not one of those parents who was focused on sending your child abroad to study. But we started getting inquiries from coaches who were in the US, seeing her timings were getting updated on that USA Swimming Database, even what she swam in India. So seeing that, we were approached by these coaches, and I was 100% against sending my precious child abroad. But then we spoke to Pradeep sir, who was her coach at that time, and my husband was also saying it may be a good opportunity for her to get into collegiate swimming, and that's how she got in. You do need, let me stress here that it's not enough to be a fantastic swimmer. The US colleges are looking for academic excellence also. So she, because of having both, I think she got admissions in a lot of colleges. And the one we chose was the one where we got the maximum scholarship. It's an expensive proposition. So it's very clear that it's better to put them into where you get more money is better. And also we had a good rapport with the coach from Drew University, and we told we want to align her performance with also the Indian swimming scene, and he was open to that as well. And we actually, she came back and swam a national, which was stressful for her, swimming with jet lag and everything. It doesn't work out that simple. If you're swimming abroad, to be able to be present on the Indian swimming scene, because the schedules are different. It was a big challenge for us to have to do that. Mal, Smita ma'am wanted to know how you managed sports and activities. Can you hear me?
Malvika, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, ma'am.
No, I just needed to know, most of the swimmers who seek admission abroad and who go there after their 12th standard end up swimming first few years or maybe a year or so, and then somehow they just fizzle out. And most of the Indian swimmers that I've seen, have gone there, just swum for a year, and they've just given up, maybe because they are not able to manage this is a question, are they not able to manage their studies with swimming, or what is it? Or we are not very good swimmers, so hence they give up, after seeing how, I don't know what happens, but I don't see many swimmers pursuing their swimming career. Once they go there, they just end up leaving swimming completely. I've never seen anybody, very few, hardly, so this is the thing that I always tell everybody, that Malvika is still swimming, and I really appreciate for what you're doing, and I just hope that you come to India and swim some more races, come for the nationals, win the nationals, represent India and win for India. What do you have to say?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. The plan for now definitely is to come back here and swim at least for some time before I, pursue my higher education. But to answer your question, I think it depends on why the people go to the US in the first place. So if they go there with the mind saying, I want to swim and study, then I feel like it's, for me personally, that's what I went into, because I knew that I didn't want to give up swimming yet. And the US was a good place to do that, because you can study and swim at the same time. And there, the education system and the sporting, domain is they're so that, so that you're about your swimming, your coaches care a lot about your academics, and even with the scheduling of classes and all of that, finishing at 1, so I could go eat breakfast after after 10 class, come back from class, and then do my homework. So it sort of forces you to have some sort of a structure with your day-to-day. Even the academics, they have small assignments that they make you do every day. It's not like you have to go and sit for your final exams, and that's the only thing that's the most important. You have to make sure that you do your homework every day. And it's sort of, the way the day is structured, it makes it easier for you to sit down at night and focus on those little small assignments that take you like a couple of hours to do. So that way I feel like the structure of the whole system was what was so, it made everything really, really simple and easy to follow. And that's why it really inspired me to stick with it. And yeah.
Thank you, Malvika. You can answer some other
Yes, ma'am.
questions. Anybody who's written on anybody wants to know?
There was a question about what line of studies has she taken right now. So here's a very important thing that happened to her, and which I want to share with you at school level. So up to 10th grade, the principal was super supportive, and Mal would bunk school whenever she wanted to or needed to, and she would be given a lot of retests and reassessments to help her, cope with whatever it is. The minute she completed 10th and got into 11th and 12th, so that's when we had to make a decision as to which stream she was going to take. And this girl had actually got really good marks in everything, including science, math, and her languages, English, geography, history, everything. So there was no reason why the school should not agree to put her into a science stream. And she was not very sure. So we went to have a discussion with the principal as to what she recommends, because we wanted to stay on at DPS South for the 11th and 12th as well. So the principal was very clear. She said, see, she's now, at her peak, and the next 2 years are going to be critical for her swimming. There were so many international meets coming up, and she was almost like right there on top. And she asked Malvika, Mal, are you very passionate about your swimming and you want to go full steam with it right now? So Mal said, yes, that is my first and most important priority. Then she said, I will not give you a science course. Because if you take a science course, you cannot be absent for months together at camps and stuff. So it's better that you take either arts or commerce, humanities or commerce. And Mal doesn't have a head for business or, commerce. So she said, I will take humanities because I can do many things, interesting things in that, but I want my swimming to be the most, my biggest focus right now, because you can't get those years back. Those are the years when your child is effortlessly improving. You can't say stop swimming and now become an engineer. So we said fine, and we took the principal's advice and we went in with humanities. So there she had history, economics, sociology, psychology, I think, English, and everything. All the 2 years she had 0 professors because she was never going to school, and she was always in camps, and she studied it on her own. And so when she went into the US, we went into, what is that called? liberal arts college. A liberal arts college like Drew University allows you to take any discipline irrespective of what you have done in the 11th and 12th. So Mal could have even become a doctor or done her pre-med at Drew University if she wanted to. So those opportunities are there abroad. If you choose a college like that, even though you don't have math in your 11th and 12th, you can still go and take math at the university level over there. So she had that option. So once she went in the first year in a liberal arts college, they allow you to just test the field and see what you like and what you want to do and stuff. So then she decided that she likes psychology, and neuroscience was something she was really passionate about. So she has majored in psychology, minor in neuroscience. So probably she would have been really good at the sciences because she loves dissecting brains and stuff. But yeah, so she aligned her choices based on what she liked, which would also fit into her swimming goals. Has that answered your question? Let me see what other questions are there. Nilesh has asked a question saying, somebody's camera is on, can you switch it off? Yeah, saying that we were always there at her meets. Yeah, this is something that I would really advise all the parents. Just try to go for her meets, guys. That experience is something, it's worth all the stress and the tension, because that feeling and that experience that you get is something that you're never going to forget. What could we have done additionally which we didn't do? Many of the things that I talked to you about, you know, is what I have learned now after 15 years. Maybe initially, I remember when Mal was in group 4 bottom, I was not so patient. I was not so, you know, understanding. For me, the success came as a shock. I was unable to believe that my child is the best in this whole of Karnataka. To you know, process that information was hard for me. So if I go back and if I can be a parent at that time again, I would be a mom like how I am for my son, you know, a very chilled out, patient, understanding, a mom who doesn't put any pressure on the child. I think I have inadvertently put pressure on her when she was maybe in group 4, group 3. After that, better sense prevailed, and then you know that for your own good, it's better to back off a little bit. You know, you can't be so involved, you can't be so stressed, you can't be. And I want to tell parents that everyone's eyes are on you. When you're at the state meet, or when you're at the nationals, you're standing there, you're watching the race. People are looking at your reactions. They're looking at your face. So you have to have measured reactions there. And for your own sanity and well-being, it's nice to be a chilled out parent. Neither success nor failure should affect you badly. What other questions?
There
People
is
can speak and ask
a question.
me. Yeah.
There is a question which is put. Somebody has asked, did you prefer your child going to an open school or a regular school since she was good in her swimming while she was swimming?
Yeah, this question actually didn't arise for us at all because of the support that we got from DPS. So we were flexible in the sense that, you know, if there was a camp for 2 months and there was a world championship, the school would be okay with it. Even if there were tests that were being conducted during that period, they were okay with it. And this girl was able to study on her own, a completely independent study only with textbook. She never watched videos. She never used any guides. I would buy her, you know, those those subject guides, you know, last minute just before the exam, saying work out some. She would just study from her textbook. So in her case, we never really had that question which is coming into our minds. But open school is not a bad option in case your child is really finding it hard to cope with studies and swimming. Let me tell you one thing. Your swimming career of your child is very limited. It's a limited time. Okay, so if you waste those precious years, I'm not saying it in a negative way. If you waste your child's, you know, critical years, maybe between 14 and 25, if you waste that time, your child can never be as great a swimmer as she was destined to be. Whereas if you put studies a little bit on the back burner, your child can always pick up your studies whenever you want. You know, even at age 40, you can do your degree or your masters, or, you know, have a career. So that way, the swimming years the critical years of peak performance will not come back. Whereas your brain is continuing to develop and you will be able to do your academics at any point of time. But I would not recommend like people completely leaving school just to focus on swimming. You have to make your child learn to handle both. It is possible. It is not impossible. I'm sure every child can do it with proper, scheduling and guidance from you and the teachers. Studies they have to be managed. That's just something he has to do. Otherwise, he's not fit to be an athlete. Any other questions, Smita?
There is Satishwar Chandrasekhar who has said, how did Malika manage to grow out from being taken care of at home by her parents to do everything, or could she manage everything on her own in US?
Yeah, she was one of the most protected and pampered children, which is why initially I was reluctant to put her into swimming as well, because she used to be, one of those kids who was fed by the grandmother and made to sleep. I was working very hard at that time, so she was made to sleep 3 hours in the afternoon after she came back from school, and then all of a sudden there's this thing where twice a day the child has to go for swimming, get up early, no more sleep in the afternoon and stuff. So it was difficult, and even at home completely doesn't do anything. I must tell you that she doesn't do her own stuff. So she does. So you, as a parent, the support you can give when your child is performing at that elite level is to provide good food on time, and what else? Make sure that her clothes are washed and ironed and kept, and those kind of things is what we used to do for her, completely dependent on the parents when she was here, which is why I was so nervous and reluctant to send her abroad, thousands of miles away, and she has to manage. She didn't even know how to hold a vacuum cleaner or a broom and wash her own clothes. It was so stressful. But you'd be surprised at the capabilities of your child. Once anyone is in that situation, they rise to the occasion and they're able to do it. Of course, they have support from their friends, and their coach is very involved in their day-to-day activities. And of course, in the first year, she used to call me for everything. Ma, should I do this? Ma, should I do that? What should I do? Whenever there was a decision point, I would be consulted. And because I had made her like that, and after that, after 1 year, she grew out of it, and now she needs me less and less, which is good. She's very independent now. But now that she's back home, she still behaves the same old way, expecting me to do the laundry and give her food. That has not changed.
I think
but you need to
question,
communicate.
One last question is from Nidhi Bapna, who's Vedant Bapna's mom. She wanted, to share the experience of admission of Malvika, but I think she that will be a long procedure. So Nidhi can always call you.
That is a long,
So Nidhi can.
And also my husband is better. Yeah, my husband would be a better person to answer that, because he was more involved and instrumental in that.
I think those were the questions.
We will take the last one.
Oh, there is
we'll
one.
Take one last here. Siddharth Fukan.
Boy and girl.
Yeah. Can you take the question, please?
Yeah, yeah. Actually, one boy, one girl. Okay, they're completely different. What? I can't hear. Then how can I hear? Okay, fine. They're completely different in all ways. Yeah, my son. Yeah, he's not as what should I say? Malvika was so self-driven, and when it came to academics as well as her swimming, so there was nothing that we had to do as such. When it comes to swimming, he's completely self-driven, and he's so much better at figuring out what he needs in terms of swimming. School, he's a little more relaxed. He doesn't care if he's not top of the class. And he knows that he's doing his stuff. It may not always be to the best of his abilities. And for me, my policy is, as long as we don't have complaints from the teacher, and in fact, we don't. The teacher always praises him, saying that he's so quiet, he's hardworking, and though he's doing so much of swimming, he's up to date on his lessons. So as long as that's the case, we don't bug him either. And I think he's also a very balanced child. So I don't have major problem. And in fact, he listens to me more than Mal used to listen to me. Fights with me less. So, anything else?
No, I am actually done. I just would want to thank her for sharing her experience.
Thank you so much from everybody.
I would like to, I thank you all for your, patience in listening to me, and as well as the wonderful and interesting questions that you have posed. And I hope that you have got something out of it, and I hope that I have not sounded very, superior in terms of being a great parent, because I'm not. It's all things that I've learned along the way. And definitely, If any of you have any questions, you can always contact me and I will try to help you the best I can. Thank you,
so
Vijay, and
much.
thank you, sir, for making this possible. It was a
Sure.
wonderful experience for me.
Thanks a lot. Ma, hope to see you soon.